You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 48. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. My guest today knows what it's like to not only launch an online business, but what it means to pivot within your business, and is now teaching women and specifically moms how to manage all of this. Majesta Patterson is a mom of two, photographer, and online business owner, and she's helping women clarify their business, get real with their intention and planning, and move the needle in their businesses. I love Majesta's honesty in how she developed a family schedule guide to plan out her working hours, her husband's working hours, and when family time was mandated. You're going to hear us talk about the importance of creating boundaries in your business, especially when you have a family, but also how boundaries will help you sustain the longevity of your business and your sanity. Majesta shares her journey of being a photographer and photographing back-to-back weddings and the amount of time it took away from her family and the way she's coaching women to pivot to profit in their businesses. We know that having a business of your own means being willing to sacrifice long hours in the beginning, but there comes a time where you need to find ease in what you do, and Majesta is helping women do exactly that. I love our conversation because as two business-owning moms, we have a lot in common, and I'm excited to share it all with you. Hi, Majesta.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so stoked to have you. I was saying earlier today, like social media makes me feel like I chat with you and everybody else.
I know, right?
But we don't, and we live so close. So once this pandemic goes away, then we are totally going to have some wine together because it's high time.
Yes, definitely. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Some social time, some real in-person social time.
Yes. So before we get started, can you let everybody know who you are, what you do, and I want to chat about your story too.
Yeah, of course. My name is Majesta Patterson, and I have been a wedding and portrait photographer for the past 9 years, and recently pivoted my business to help other mom entrepreneurs run and build their own businesses while creating more balance in their lives. And so I have launched an online course, and I'm getting ready to launch a group program this summer, and taking care of my kids now full time since we can't go to daycare or preschool.
That's my life.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how you do it. You're a saint.
No, they're used to it. I think that's the difference between parents who are just now thrown into it and having to do it versus this is all my kids have ever known.
Yeah.
So
totally.
They know. They're like, oh, it's 2:00. Are you done yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just the life that they know. So for good or bad,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So how did you make such a pivot? Because I think that's kind of a big pivot to go from photography to what you're doing now.
Yeah, totally. So it was a process. It's been a process. Back in 2018, I started seeing the opportunities and the potentials of running an online business, and it was intriguing to me. And so I invested in some education and kind of learned how to build a product that I could sell online. And I really felt I've always loved the business aspect of running my own business, whereas I think a lot of creative entrepreneurs tend to be heavily focused on the creative aspect. And that's wonderful and awesome. I just happen to love both. I love the creative process, but I also love the business process. And so throughout my entrepreneurial life, I've had friends who have always come to me for business advice and marketing advice. And so when I started to think about what I could do, naturally I thought of coaching and mentoring other photographers to build their own photography business. And what I realized was I was pretty burnt out on photography and at the volume that I was shooting. And so something in my gut was telling me that I just didn't want to teach other people how to create a business that they ended up being burnt out on, because that's how I felt. And so I had how old was Scarlett? She was 2 at the time, 2 and a 1-year-old, or an infant at the time. And I was really, I'm very passionate about being a mom and running a business and raising babies at the same time has got its challenges. And so I really felt this pull and purpose to work with mom entrepreneurs. And so in 2019, that's when I really kind of set off running with my podcast and then my program. And yeah, here I am today.
And what's your new program going to be about? Because I've seen it on Instagram and I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Can you share, what is that going to look like? What is it that you're teaching women? Because I know that you do some time management, productivity hacks. Mm-hmm. Let's get into it. How do you do it? What do you teach them? Teach me your ways.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny that you asked me how I pivoted, because the process that I'm teaching in this group program is called the pivot process. And that's because I believe that pivoting in your life has to happen in order to grow, because it creates opportunities that can just expand your purpose and increase your bottom line, increase your profits. And so with the pivot process, we cover all of those things: mindset, time management, marketing, creating an irresistible offer, and basically getting your business to a very clarified and focused point, along with the mindset practices and your intentional planning to move the needle in your business. Because what I've learned being a mom and a business owner is you really have to kind of be ahead of your own game. You have to be proactive about how you're approaching your business, because you're just going to spin wheels if you're not going to be intentional and proactive about what you're doing. And so, yeah, so the pivot process starts with mindset. It's called daily practices. And so I've actually named each section based on the word pivot. So like I said, mindset practices, morning routine, and meditation. I kind of cover all of the basics of what you need to get your mind right. Like I'm sure we've all dealt with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And I have some great practices that I've used in my life to help me when I feel those things, because I think those are inevitable feelings, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I agree. And everything that you're saying, totally agree with. I'm right there on the journey with you. I actually just started this morning because Amazon was delivered yesterday, the 5-minute journal. Oh, cool. And I got the Streams in the Desert devotional. Oh, cool. It's like literally a 3-minute read. And then I woke up, it was funny. I woke up this morning, I'm like, I'm going to start my 5-minute journal today. Yeah. And I didn't realize that there's like 20 pages of instructions. So I'm like, oh man, it's not 5 minutes the first day.
No, the first day it's not. But the practices are important. I forgot that you had just asked me for a journal recommendation, because I'm a big fan of journaling. And that's something that I also talk about in this first section of the pivot process, because, oh man, I just can't stress enough how these practices are so essential to keeping your momentum and your motivation in business, so that you can just keep going towards your goals and building your dream business.
And why do you
Um,
think that is? My guess would be that it's because you can look back on what's motivating you and what your true intention is. But why would you say that journaling and such keeps you on track to get there?
yeah, I think because we're human and we get in our heads about comparing ourselves to others and imposter syndrome and self doubt and our limiting beliefs. And so by journaling and meditating, our lives are so busy and our minds are constantly bombarded with information. And so if we create these routines and these practices around things that fuel us. So for me, journaling is my way to express all of my thoughts and feelings when I'm feeling excited or I'm feeling down or I'm feeling hesitant or I'm feeling anxious. I can use my journal to brain dump, but also like reflect on how much there is to be grateful for and how much I'm almost like it's almost like a therapy session between myself in a journal, if
Mm,
that makes sense,
I like
where
that.
you can be objective to your thoughts. You can write it down and say, okay, I'm seeing that I have self-doubt or that I'm doubting myself about this or that I feel a certain way. But there's also this and this and this. And I actually can do that and that and that because I have XYZ experience. And you kind of like go through this entire process in your head of like disproving your doubts and your fears. And you can be yourself. You can get it all out.
I like
Therapeutic.
that. Yeah, definitely.
Cathartic.
No, and I feel like this morning as I wrote, what you're grateful for, and I think there's the section for I did it this morning. I can barely remember what the questions are.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you basically set your intentions for the day, and
Hmm.
I know that one of my top ones was that I don't want to raise my voice today to the
Hmm.
kids.
Yeah.
And it's literally been in the forefront of my mind every time I wrap up an interview. I go downstairs and, we're chatting and getting food because I feel like that's all they do is they eat.
Yeah.
Um, it's there. And I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to remember this because I don't want to raise my voice today. And, that's the intention that I'm setting. And hopefully that's, what goes forward because yeah, I will bust out a, hey, I said
Hmm.
no,
Yep.
except it doesn't sound as cute as that just did.
I get it. I get it. And yes, the 5 minute journal is what I used for years and years. It's a great starting journal if you're like, oh, I want a journal, but I don't know where to start. It gives you prompts. I believe it has your gratitude, affirmation, and then things you want to accomplish for the day, I think.
Yeah, and then there's the nighttime too.
Yeah. And then there's the nighttime reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally I free write now, and I tend to do it. I try to do it every morning. It's my goal to do it every morning. The COVID pandemic has kind of thrown my morning routine a little bit for a loop, but I feel like I'm still grasping for it. I'm still trying to go for it, and so I usually end up writing, especially when I'm feeling stressed out, because I can kind of get all of my like thoughts out on paper without having to like talk it through with someone.
Hmm.
And so it's yeah, for me it's like a de-stressor for sure.
Yeah. I used to be a big free writing journal person, like from a young age through
Hmm.
college. I'm not sure when it just stopped. I think life might have just happened.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm excited to see what happens as I get back into it.
yeah.
Uh, Speaking of being a mom and doing all these mom things, what kind of productivity hacks are you teaching moms? Because I am all about how can we
Hmm.
make it better, make it
Yeah.
less. Tell me how.
Yeah, so the second part of the pivot process is actually all about this. So I talk about habits and planning with intention. And so we go from time management to productivity hacks and how you can productivity methods, not even hacks, but methods that you can use. For me personally, I love planners. I've tried a bunch of different planners, and I usually would use whatever is working best for me at the time. And I use a combo of both a digital calendar and a daily planner. And that's because I like to be able to check things off the list, but obviously there's a lot going on with our family calendar too. So I definitely, the calendar is more for like events that are happening in our family life, and the planner is more for our weekly planning and then monthly planning for the business. And so, when I first became a mom, I was like, just tried to fit in work whenever I could. And it usually left me stressed out and overwhelmed because I had no sense of any schedule, and it was just work, 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 work. And so what I realized about 10 months into being a mom was that I was so focused on creating this like perfect schedule for our baby that I hadn't created any sort of schedule for myself. And I really needed that. I really needed to give myself permission when to work and when to shut it off. And so that's when I developed this family schedule guide and basically created a structure to our weeks so that I knew when I was taking time off with the kids and when I would be working and my husband would be watching the kids, or then when the kids went to daycare. So we've used that for a long time. Now it's kind of like we kind of have a routine established. We don't use that necessarily like by the book every week, but in the beginning of becoming a mom and working, that was so critical for my sanity. It totally saved my sanity.
I think it gets easier as they get older too.
Totally.
And how close are yours?
They're 21 months apart.
Okay. Mine are 12 months apart. So they are like literally best friends. And I think it's a blessing now. It was like a curse in the beginning.
Yeah. It's getting a little easier for us now. Yeah.
Yeah. They play together. They entertain each other. You know, I really feel for parents who just have one child right now or they have like an infant and then, you know, an older one who's like a big kid, because that's hard. You do have to entertain both, you know, per se. And when I mean entertain, I mean like watch over them.
Yeah.
You know, do activities with them.
Yeah.
But now, you know, they're building a fort right now downstairs. I had to help them with the cushions and stuff. So it's nice that they can do that. And as they get older, they understand, you know, more of what you're doing and that this is work and it will shut down at some point. And for me, that's been my biggest struggle, is shutting it down, because I come from the corporate world where I was on call for many years, 24 hours a day. And I'm not saving lives. I'm getting people podcast interviews. So I can shut it down and need to.
Yeah, I think that, and when you first build your business, like I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21. Like I started my business when I was 21 and I was full time in it. Like I would jump out of bed when I got a new lead because that was my livelihood, you know, like at 10 o'clock at night, we'd be like going to bed and I would check my email and a new inquiry would come in. And so I don't do that anymore because I mean, I've created those boundaries, and I think that's part of having a family. You know, you have to put those boundaries, but you learn too in your entrepreneurial journey that in order to sustain the longevity of your business and your sanity, like you have to create those boundaries and shut it off. But in the beginning of building a business, you also, there is a balance to that, because you do have to be eager and willing to have some sacrifice of, you know, acting quickly to be able to build.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. And last summer, I mean, you compare this summer to last summer, it's so night and day. For me, this summer, I changed my calendar. So I only take phone calls Tuesday through Thursday until 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
that's it. I'm like, and that's why the kids go, is it 2:00? Because we know at 2:00 you are done. And it doesn't always happen. There's certain days where I'm like, oh, I
Sure,
just got one more thing to do, hold on.
sure.
But they know that when we go outside and we hit the pool, I am 110% with them. And that's it. And we have dinner and, there's no really mom is still working and it's 6:00 at night, 7:00 at night. So
And it works, right? Like
it does.
whereas you probably scheduled calls like on other people's schedule, now you're fitting it into your schedule and you're still scheduling people. You're
Yes.
still getting
Yeah.
your work done.
And that's a great point because I used to be like, okay, let me look at your schedule. I'll fit it in. And now it's like, no, here's my calendar link. Find a
Yep.
time that works for you. If there's absolutely nothing, but there has to be something,
Yeah.
we can make it work. But normally I'm like, if you want to do earlier in the morning, I can do that. But I don't really
Yeah.
want to go later in the day. So
Yep.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
important to set the boundaries, but it takes time. So
It does. It takes time. And I think getting that permission from someone, and that's why it's something that I teach my students is that you have to create these boundaries, because if not, you are going to be living by other people's schedule, and you have permission to run your business on your schedule. Like, you don't have to. You can be flexible for people, but you don't have to let them control your schedule. And it took me a long time to learn that. And I want to say, like, I've gone through seasons of this, because wedding photography is seasonal. I would say last year was the most protective I've ever been over my schedule, because as my kids have gotten older, they noticed me gone. They noticed my absence, and so I was really intentional last year to leave at least one weekend day free on the weekends that I was booking. So I would never book a Saturday and a Sunday. Whereas in the past, I would just jam pack and squeeze people in, and I'd be gone all weekend. And that was hard. That was hard. I felt like I missed out on a lot.
yeah. And so I didn't realize you're still doing photography.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. But I'm much more, well, obviously it's limited now, but
Yeah.
but much less, about half as much as I have in the past. Yeah. Yeah. Last year, I took on 8 weddings. This year I had 8 as well, but they've been postponed because of COVID. So, but years prior, I was booking 20 plus
Wow.
weddings a year. So
And
I
that's
was
just not
gone.
taking the weekends, because then you have to edit the photos and go through them all. And that's time consuming. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have family clients too. And so I've been able to really limit the amount that I take on per month, which is great. It's been very, and I haven't, what's amazing is I haven't lost business. Like, my income is still the same. I haven't decreased, the revenue that I was making. And
let that be a lesson for everyone. That's something important to hear, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I've played with my pricing and stuff, and I'm now at a point where my revenue is up, but the workload is actually less.
Yeah.
And it's a weird feeling. It's really odd, because I'm like, oh, there should be something I should be doing, right?
Yep.
No, I've done it all.
Yeah, it's mentally, I don't know if you're into Enneagram or your listeners are, but
oh my God, we just did an episode last week on it, and this morning my interview, she asked the same thing.
That's so funny. Yeah, so I'm a 3, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs
I'm a 3
are.
too. Yes.
Yeah. So we're high achievers, and we tend to be workaholics, and that is a weird adjustment, because your priorities change so much when you become a mom, but you still want, like, there's, at least for me, like, I still want to work. So it's this balance of, like, constantly making sure I'm readjusting my priorities so that I can hit the goals, and grow the way that I want, but also be available to my family.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to a mom who she's launched her business and she is stuck in this, what do I do next? How do I be most productive? How do I change my schedule so that, it's for me and I'm intentional about it? What would you tell her?
Yeah, so I would definitely get on some sort of family schedule that you and your partner can agree on. And right, we're in such a unique time right now, and I don't know when this is airing, but whether we're still in the pandemic or not, I mean, I don't foresee it going anywhere anytime super soon.
We're in the Bay Area. We're going to be living this life for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So like for us, so we are probably not going to send our kids back to daycare or preschool. I mean, I'm really crossing my fingers for the fall, but I'm not banking on it. And so what I would do is I would create a family schedule that you and your partner can agree to, and depending on their flexibility with their job, workout times that you can get work in, and even if it's not feasible for your partner to take over with the kids, I would make sure that you're marking down what days that you're working during nap time, what days you're working in the evenings, and if you can, to work on the weekends right now, to work on the weekends and get caught up, but make it intentional. Don't work on the weekends because you have to. You make it because that's what you want to do, and because that's when you can maximize your productivity. If you're present for 5 days out of the week during the week and able to not worry about it, but you can get your stuff done on the weekend because your partner can watch the kids, then right now, that's kind of the adjustments that we have to make. I would also recommend theming your days. So focusing each day on a specific part of your business. So maybe it's a blog writing day or an office day or a social media day. And then above all else, I would say track your time. There's a free tool called Toggl, TOGGL.com, and you can use Toggl to write in your Chrome browser to just keep track of what you're working on. And it's pretty eye-opening for me when I realized how little time I was spending on tasks that felt like they took all day long. But what was really happening was either my focus was taken off of the task at hand, or I was just I wasn't like invested in it. I wasn't interested in it. I was itching to be done with it. And so I would look back at the time tracker, and I would like, it's only been 12 minutes since I started doing this. Why am I complaining? Like, this is a 25-minute timer. Like I can go for 12 more minutes and just, get it done. And so that's pretty eye-opening, just to do it basically like a time audit by tracking your time.
I like that idea. I didn't know that Toggl did that. I thought that you turn it on and, I'm working this much for a client or something like that. I didn't know that it tracks what you're working on or what website you're going to. That's pretty neat. No?
It doesn't do that. No, it doesn't do that. But you can set up categories in advance. And so what I do is I'll just type in what I'm doing and I'll mark it. If it's photography or if it's marketing or if it's website or if it's content creation or if it's social media, I'll just quickly make a note. And I love working in Pomodoros, which is a productivity method of 25-minute increments. And so you can actually set Toggl up to reflect 25-minute Pomodoros. And so that's how I have it set up. So every 25 minutes, I've got it tracking. I write in what I'm doing, and then I either continue to work on that task or I can switch to whatever else needs to get done for the day.
I like that. I'm just learning about that method. I'm in a course right now, and we do these once a month 4-hour work block chunks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's intense. My husband was like, wait a second, you're going to be doing something for 4 hours straight? That was one of those, this isn't in the family planning type of schedule.
Right? That's what you need, a family schedule. Gotta make sure everyone's on board.
Yeah, 4 hours is bit of a long time. Like 1 hour here and there is fine, like doing, an episode and stuff. But it was like 4 hours. And even I'm like, yeah, 4 hours. Like I got to sit there through this. But it was amazing. And I like the 25-minute chunk though. Even to set your timer on your phone and stuff, that's easy enough to do.
Mm-hmm.
And 25 minutes goes by quickly.
It does. But it's also amazing that I think there's some accountability when you track your time too. Like when I know I have that timer going, I know that like, okay, it's heads down focused on this one task so that I can get it done and so that I can be free by 2 p.m. and spend time with my family.
Yeah.
I think those two things combined, Pomodoros and time tracking, are two of my favorite. That's my favorite kind of way to get stuff done, especially when I'm going for an intense like work day. I've got a lot of stuff to get done.
I love it. I'm going to try it. You gave me the 5-minute recommendation. So now I'm going to try some 25-minute Pomodoros and see how that goes.
Cool. Let me know how it goes.
I will. Can you share with everyone where they can find you and more about your pivot course, group coaching, everything, please?
Yeah. So I'm primarily on Instagram. You can find me there at Majesta Patterson. And then my website, majestapatterson.com. There's not very many people named Majesta. So if you just look for interpret your best spelling of Majesta, it's Majesta Patterson, I'll probably pop up.
Is there a story behind your name?
No, just a name book that I was born in May, and it means the Roman goddess of the month of May, and my parents really liked it. So no like hippie healers or anything crazy. My mom's just an insurance agent.
Oh, that's hilarious. And what about your podcast?
Yeah, so it's called Real Talk with Biz Moms, and we're kind of on a hiatus right now with the pandemic. It just is not really feasible for me to record with the kids home. And so, but we've got episodes from the past year and a half available to listen to. So you should go check it out.
Yes. Thank you so much. This has been great. I'm excited to implement some of your knowledge into my day, and I can't wait to hear what the listeners think and how they're going to be using some of these hacks and tools.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes for you. And if anyone's going to try out these hacks, make sure you tag us on Instagram. Post a little Instagram story.
Thank you so much, Majesta.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Well, friends, I just love Majesta's ease in which she speaks about her pivots and how she's helping other women do the same. We all deserve to have exactly what we want, and I believe that we certainly can. But we have to start with boundaries in our lives. As you know, this is something I've struggled about, and I'm happy to share about it. So we'll be talking more in upcoming episodes about time management and how to do more for ourselves, our families, and our businesses. The important thing to remember is that if you want your future to include more time for yourself, then you have to create that space for yourself. You can do it, my friend. I believe in you, and I'm here to help you along the way. Until next week, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy.